topic of this lecture is inheritance and polymorphism in Kotlin. So, what is inheritance? Inheritance in Kotlin allows one class to inherit properties and methods from another class. You can think of it like a family tree where children inherit traits from their parents. First, you have the base class, so this is the parent. This is the general class with common properties and methods. For example, animal is a base class with a name and a method to make a sound. Then you have the derived class, which is the child, and this is a specific class that inherits from the base class and can have additional properties and methods. For example, dog and cat are derived classes that inherit from animal. They can make specific sounds like barking or meowing. In simple terms, inheritance lets you create a general blueprint, like animal, and then make specific versions, like dog and cat, that share common features but also have unique behaviors. And we're going to go over this in more detail in the code snippets later on. But next, let's go over polymorphism. What is it? Polymorphism in Kotlin allows objects of different classes to be treated as objects of a common base class. This means many forms and lets you write flexible and reusable code. What is a base class reference? You can use this as a reference of the base class type to hold objects of derived classes. For example, an animal reference can hold a dog or cat object. Method overriding. This means that derived classes can override methods from the base class to provide specific behavior. When you call a method on a base class reference, the actual method that gets executed depends on the object type. In simple terms, polymorphism lets you use one function to work with different types of objects, making your code adaptable and easy to extend. For example, you can create a function that takes an animal and calls its make sound method, and it will work correctly whether the animal is a cat or a dog. Okay, next let's move on to the code, and we're going to go over this in more detail and more in depth. Let's get started. So the first class that we have here is the base class, and the base class in question here is called animal, and this is a general class that defines a property name and a method make sound. So this is the method right here. The open keyword before the class name right here allows other classes to inherit from this class. The method make sound has an open keyword as well. It allows this method to be overridden by subclasses. This method prints a generic message that the animal makes a sound. The animal class is like a basic template for all animals. It has a name and can make a generic sound. The open keyword is like saying this class and method can be extended or changed by other classes. Next, we have a derived class for dog. This class inherits from animal, so the previous one, and overrides the make sound method to provide a specific implementation for dogs. The override keyword is used to change the behavior of the make sound method from the animal class to print a specific message that the dog barks. Now we're also introducing a new method called fetch, and this method is specific to the dog class and prints a message that the dog is fetching a ball. So the dog class is a specialized version of the animal class. It still has a name, but it barks instead of making a generic sound and can fetch a ball. The override keyword is like saying, I want to change how this method works for dogs. Next, we have a derived class, but this time for cats. This class inherits from animal and overrides the make sound method to provide a specific implementation for cats. The method override And the keyword override here is used to change the behavior of the makeSound method from the animal class to print a specific message that the cat meows. We're also introducing another method called scratch, and this method is specific to the cat class and prints a message that the cat is scratching the furniture. The cat class is a specialized version of the animal class. It still has a name, but it meows instead of making a generic sound and can scratch furniture. The override keyword here is like saying, I want to change how this method works for cats. Next, we have polymorphism. Okay? Polymorphism in this function takes an animal object as a parameter. Right here is the parameter. It takes an animal object as a parameter and calls its makeSound method. The actual method that gets called depends on the specific type of the object passed, for example, a dog or a cat. Polymorphism allows us to use a single function to work with different types of animals. It calls the appropriate makeSound method based on the actual animal type. It's like having one remote control that can work with multiple devices by knowing which device it's controlling. In this main function, we show how to create and use the dog and cat objects. We see how each animal makes its own specific sound and performs actions like fetching or scratching. Polymorphism is demonstrated by using a single function called the makeSound method, right here, to call the makeSound method on different types of animals, making it flexible to handle any animal type. So here we are creating the dog object. We're creating the cat object. But we're using the base class, so the foundation class of animal, to call the makeSound method on different types of animals and making it flexible to handle any animal type. Okay, here we have the makeSound. Great. Once again, these code snippets are in the description below of this lecture. Feel free to copy paste them to your IntelliJ and play around with it. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. I hope you reward yourself by taking a break, maybe have a hot cup of tea, a hot chocolate, or a coffee if you like to drink coffee. Stretch, have a short walk, and when you're ready, I'll see you in the next lecture.